The Bob TV Network presents, broadcasting live from the greatest city in the world, New York City. It's the Bobby Brown Show. And now here's your host, Bobby Brown.
Well, good day. Well, good morning. Well, it's almost morning. It's 11:20 p.m. Good evening, everybody. This is your host, Robert Bob TV Brown. How are you doing today? And I am live. I know a lot of time is pre-recorded, but I am live today, and I'm going to try to make this not too long, no more than an hour. So I'm timing myself to be done by 12:22. But I thought this was so important to talk about because there is a cry in the land for Black, Brown, Asian solidarity. But usually when it comes to true Black issues outside of criminal justice, outside of incarceration, outside of police brutality, there's no Black, Brown, Asian solidarity. Oftentimes, there's no Black solidarity within the Black community because we have so many aspects of the Black community. You got the immigrants, Blacks, and even with that, there's immigrants Black that have division. Then you got Blacks, that's ADOS, that have different divisions because a lot of them just don't know how to do what they call get on code. But let me tell you something who do have a code, a system. Asians. And I'm going to prove that in a moment. I don't know if you guys heard about the Asian brother that got death threats from his own community because this brother decided to put up a Black Lives Matter sign from his own community. And the reason that happened is because he got what they call off code. Vietnamese Black Lives Matter billboard sign draws death threats in Houston. So this Asian man put up a Black Lives Matter billboard sign, paid for it out of his own pocket, and down at the bottom it says "Stop Racism." The Vietnamese community does not like this billboard. The Vietnamese community do not like this billboard. Yet we want to cry Black, Brown, and Asian unity. Now, I find it real coincidental that Black issues are being erased with Asian issues as soon as Kamala Harris becomes the vice president. Prior to that, you did hear about Asian incidents, but it wasn't magnified to as an extent like it is now because we have a Asian Pacific claim to be Black vice president. It seems like there's a hard push on an Asian agenda. You even got the brother, I can't think of his name, the LGBT dude from Star Trek, decided to put his LGBTQ flag down to prop up his Black community. Asian community. Now, if only we can get Black LGBTQ people to realize what come first, because obviously the Asian community is developing a code, and if you violate that code, they're going to let you know you're violating the code. You cannot even put your LGBTQ status over your Asian status. You can't. And that's what happened when this brother, Mr. Sulu from Star Trek. That's all I know him about. Taki Saki, whatever his name, Suki. I don't remember his name. I just know him as Mr. Zulu from Star Trek. He put his LGBTQ flag down and raised his Asian flag up. Now, this whole narrative is about Pacific Asians, not just people from Asia that's from the Far East, like China, Japan. No, this got everything to do from the Philippines all the way down to Bangkok, the island areas down there, even as low as to Samoa, Guam, Hawaii. That's how far this message of violence against Asians, and don't get me wrong, violence against anybody is wrong. Violence against anybody is wrong. Now let's go over this real quick. The Vietnamese community does not like this billboard. Why? What's wrong with it? We're going to read the story. A Black Lives Matter billboard written in Vietnamese has resulted in death threats in Houston. Well, I kind of doubt if black people was threatening this dude for supporting Black Lives Matter. I doubt that. Maybe it could be some bigot white racists doing it. Maybe it could be, who knows? Who's threatening this man? A 50-year-old Vietnamese businessman, Nguyen Lee, was moved by the murder of George Floyd. Again, 50-year-old Vietnamese businessman, he's a businessman, Vietnamese businessman, was moved by the murder of George Floyd and decided to show support for Black Lives Matter by putting up a billboard sign. So here this man, he's seen George Floyd being brutalized by a police officer for some cockamamie lame excuse of putting his knee on his neck, restricting his airwave. I don't care what you say was in his body. The bottom line is, if you didn't put your knee on this guy, would he still live? And we knew the answer was absolutely. So your knee killed him. We're not going to go into semantics. We're not going to go into proof, and we're not going to talk about drugs. We're not going to talk about his history. It ain't got nothing to do with that. There's still no reason to kill this dude. And this 50-year-old Vietnamese businessman, Nguyen Lee, had to make sure I was on, was moved by the murder of George Floyd. He said, I couldn't remain silent anymore, because to me, remaining silent would just be complicit to all this, he said. Now understand, when it's something as tragic as a man dying, it really don't matter what color it was. It could have been a white guy. It could have been an Asian guy. To sit there and see a man with his knee on the neck. And mind you, there was an Asian officer in the way while he's doing that, trying to block the people from the cameras recording it. And if one of those people with the camera would have tried to stop it, they probably would have killed them too. Trying to not get too excited and get too ticked off about this story. I couldn't remain silent anymore, because to me, remaining silent would just be complicit to all this, he said. In June, Lee put up the billboard in Houston, Viettown. So here we are. We got a man in his own hometown, in his own neighborhood, where they spend money at, where they bring their money home. See, it's all right for Vietnamese or for Chinese or for Italians to do business and keep their money in their own town and distribute amongst each other and share among each other. But don't you dare do it if you're black. Where's the African town? Where's the ADOS towns? And let me tell you something. They ain't gonna let you come in their town and do gentrification. That ain't gonna happen. Ain't nobody gentrifying Chinatown in New York but Chinese people. Little Italy up here in the Bronx over there near Fordham Road, ain't nobody gentrifying Little Italy except Italian people. We blacks need to understand and learn and do the same. Doesn't mean they're being prejudiced, because I can go to Italy town and do business there. Why? Because my money is going there. All they're going to do, but the thing is, I rarely see Chinese people or Asian people. I could say Chinese, Japanese. I don't care if you're from Hong Kong. I don't care if you're from Singapore. I don't care if you're from Malaysia. I very rarely see that coming into the black neighborhoods, eating in the black restaurants. But we have no problem going down to Chinatown. I do it often. I go to China while I'm in Chinatown shopping because things are cheap, you know. You got the Africans down in Chinatown trying to get some of that business, and the Asians are upset because the Africans are trying to sell fake bags too, like they are fake. But they can't do nothing about it. So what they do, they call the police on the Africans, and the African go to jail for selling fake products, but the Asians don't go to jail for selling the fake product because they got that code system. You never know where that phone call came from. I mean, last time I went to jail for jumping over the subway stall, you know, actually I was trying to put, I scanned a lady in for the subway and they arrested me and her at the same time, and there was a law saying that you can't do that. Well, nevertheless, I went to jail, and when I went to jail, it was more Africans in there for selling counterfeit stuff than Asians. And the Asians, and they keep going back there. They keep going back to Chinatown, and they don't understand that these people calling the police on them. But yet we want to holler black, brown, and Asian unity. I can go to Little Italy and get me some nice Italian food and eat up. Now, there was a time when you couldn't do that. What you doing over here? This is not your neighborhood. And oftentimes you will be met with violence because you're in the wrong neighborhood. But now it's nothing. You go down to Harlem, you see all colors in Harlem. You see Asians, you see Russians, you see, I don't want to call them Muslim because not Middle Eastern, not all Middle Eastern Muslims. You see everybody of all cultures in Harlem. And I know some people say, well, that makes Harlem better. It don't. If all cultures end up going into Little Italy and changing it and living there, do that make Little Italy better? No, it takes away from the uniqueness. There's nothing wrong with having neighborhoods as long as you don't do all this racial bigotry stuff. Now, look, don't get me wrong. You got people going to side with you on your issues. Right is right. This young man knew that George was so touched by the George Floyd incident, he put up a Black Lives Matter sign in Viettown. And the Vietnamese citizens of that neighborhood was upset. He added the Vietnamese translation, just because I'm Vietnamese and I was born in Vietnam, he said, everything we do now is bilingual. However, Lee billboard result in backlash, including a Vietnamese vlogger threatening Lee with violence. Let's click this and see if that'll bring that up.
Mọi người đã nghe rõ cái phần phát biểu cái ý kiến của
Now, I don't understand none of that, and I ain't gonna try. Okay, but the Vietnamese people was upset in Viettown. The guy threatened his life. Lee also received hate speech via his Facebook, with some calling him a communist. And 12 clients boycotting his insurance business. Now, mind you, 9 out of 10, he probably do have some black clients. But let's say he didn't, and all he did was focus on his neighborhood. Nothing wrong with that. You're supposed to support the people in your neighborhood, and then go outside of that. 12 clients boycotting his insurance business, all because he felt sympathetic with George Floyd, to the point that he decided to put a billboard saying Black Lives Matter in Viettown, as if that was a problem. No, maybe it is a problem. Maybe, no, all lives matter. We're going to talk about that again, because that's just an excuse to not really wrap up the inequality of black people. Our inequality is not the same as most people. Everybody have their own inequality, but there's not on this. They are nowhere on the same level as ours. And I'm gonna show you this as I continue to go. Vietnamese American Bao Hung Hoang, guess I'm saying this stuff right now. I'm not Vietnamese. 35 said her mother also took issue with the billboard. Her mama. So this shows you that there is a lot of racism that goes on in other cultures, especially the older generation. They're the nerves of you to support them Negroes. I'm offended that you put that sign in our neighborhood. But you could put there can be some white guy that got violated by a white cop, or let's say a black cop. They'll be quick enough to put that. If they live in our neighborhood and somebody put it up, black people won't get upset. Should they? Injustice is injustice. Injustice is injustice. She said, you know about that billboard? I've been hearing in the Vietnamese radio, they've been talking about it. And she said, initially it made me very uncomfortable. She was uncomfortable because her mother took issues with the billboard. In response, Lee released a press statement saying, I was never told that I'm worthless by those with different skin color. I was never told, listen to this, I was never told that I am worthless by those with different color skin. I know that my life would have been a lot harder to build if I did. So to paraphrase, look, nobody told me I was worthless, but I can see that these people are considered worthless. And that offends him. Now, others did offer support for Lee, rallying in front of the billboard and defending him on social media. Gak An Nguyen, a doctor in Houston, created a GoFundMe for the businessman. I'm really encouraged by how many people have donated, said Nguyen. At first, it was only Vietnamese Americans or Vietnamese people donating. Then it went to people in other countries, people in other states, and then non-Vietnamese people who literally have no bone in this fight. Nevertheless, the controversy continued. Immigration attorney Jacqueline Dan said her mother questioned her when she saw her name on the GoFundMe page. So she supported him. The immigration attorney supported him and took cover for him when the community got upset at him. And her mama had the nerves to question her. Why your name on that GoFundMe account? Why you asking people to participate in the GoFundMe account? Ma, love you. If you don't want to participate, don't. But I'm not going to stop doing what's right because it's right. She said the Vietnamese community does not like this billboard. She said the Vietnamese community does not like this billboard. I'll repeat this again. Well, you just saw the sign that said black, white, black, brown, and Asians need to come together. We can't come together when you don't deal with your own community about situations like this. So a lot of people in your community don't like black people. And sometimes, oftentimes, more than not, they are on the side of white supremacy, aiding them and don't even know it most of the time. She said the Vietnamese community do not like this billboard. Dan said her mother believes that Vietnamese stores are targeted by black people. See, they want to spin the narrative, and that's what we're going to talk about, because they want to spin the narrative that black people are attacking Asians. And they want to take a few incidents and magnify them like it was a few thousand. And I'm not saying those few incidents, if it was somebody black involved, that if he did that crime and he don't have any mental issues, because oftentimes when other people do the crime, especially police, against somebody, mental issues will come up. But when it comes to the black person, they don't talk about mental issues. He's a thug. He had it coming. He stole this, his background. He had weed in the system. We're going to talk about this a little bit. She believes Vietnamese stores are targeted by black people. Now, I have to admit to you, let me bring myself up here so I can talk to you a little bit. I got to admit to you guys something, okay? All right. All right, guys, give me a moment. Give me a moment. All right, there we go. See, guys, I got to admit to you something. I have an uncle who's Asian. My uncle, and this is how a lot of uncles were back in the days of the Vietnam War. I have an uncle that fell in love with, and it happens all the time, during the Vietnam War, let's tell the truth, a lot of Vietnamese women wanted to become married to American citizens so they could leave Vietnam and build a life in America. Just like a lot of Africans, a lot of Jamaicans, a lot of people from overseas they want to become American citizens. They want to live like Americans, and they want to speed up the process. They'll find somebody, oftentimes somebody they don't love, they don't care, they have an agenda to become American citizens, and it ain't got nothing to do with you. You know, I saw a video recently of this big old dude and this, nice looking fine African woman. You could tell she wasn't in it. She wasn't into the wedding vows, and you tell her friends and family wasn't in it. We just need to get this sister a green card, and just marry the man, and then, you got to do your 2 year spill of being with this person and showing that you're in a relationship. You know how the thing go, the thing, in the words of Joe Biden, the thing. But I used to work in my uncle's store, and sure, he sold beauty supply, New York fashion. And yeah, most of the clients were black. And yeah, you did have some black people trying to steal hair, and I had to catch them. And, and for most of the part, he was decent with these people until they were indecent with him. He would take the pack and tell them to leave. Take the pack and tell them to leave. Don't come back. When he could have called the police and had them arrested, but he didn't. Guess he had a little mercy. Now, if you want to belly up and try to challenge him, he ain't going to sit there and let you do it. You know, so, and he told me how some Asians are. And it's just like what this young lady was talking about. The point I want to make here is he was in the black neighborhood. This lady said that these Vietnamese stores are being targeted by black people in the Vietnamese community. I have to honestly say that my uncle did whatever he could. There was already a black business there. And I was saying, why you want to open up a beauty supply store when you're doing fine with New York fashion? You're selling hip hop fashion. I'm selling these clothes with you. Say, I didn't know I was young, dumb, you know. He said, good business. No, it's good business because most of his people were creating the items. Most of those items on the shelf were not black owned, black produced, and a lot of them wasn't even white corporate produced. There's a lot of it wasn't white. Most of it was being manufactured in Asia, and it was bringing down here, making billions off the black community. And he would have did, and he did whatever he could. And see, that's why I said maybe he had some mercy, but he wasn't all that mercy because he could care less about that other store that was black owned. He was happy for them to go out of business because he wanted their clients, their customers. And my young and dumb behind just went along with the program. Promised me he was going to teach me how to start my own beauty supply store and run it. Actually, he wanted me to start one of his beauty supply stores and run it. He trusted me to run it, but the bottom line is not my store. I'm being used as a puppet to make him rich off my people. And I don't care whether you're nice about it, it's what you're doing that's a big problem. Now, let me go back to this story because this is so important. She said her mother believed that black people are targeting the stores in the Vietnamese community. We ain't going to no Vietnamese community. It's your own people that probably target the stores, just like it's our own people in our neighborhood that are probably target our own stores. The crime that happens in your neighborhood is usually the people who commit the crime, usually the people who live in the neighborhood. That's why when people say black on, well, you don't say nothing about black on black crime. Just like I don't say much about Vietnamese on Vietnamese crime, Asian crime. It's usually the people in your neighborhood that live in your neighborhoods that commit the crime in your neighborhood. She said, I represent the people who are accused of breaking into Vietnamese stores and homes. I represent them. I'm a Vietnamese immigration attorney, which means my descendants is my heritage is Vietnamese, but I got to represent anybody that has to do with immigration. I don't care if they come from Africa, Jamaica. I don't care if they're coming from Poland. I got to represent them. I represent the people who are accused of breaking into Vietnamese stores and homes, and they speak Vietnamese, Dan said. So most of her clients are Vietnamese. Because most blacks don't speak Vietnamese. She said they're accused of breaking into stores. Those who are older or first generation tend to be more conservative when it comes to racial justice issues than our younger people. In other words, like, old wise man said, you got to watch these old Negroes. And you got to act same thing when it comes to these old Italians and these old Asians. And they'll try to seep that knowledge into a younger generation. That's why it's important to teach Bill Maher racism, bigotry, and white supremacy as early as you can to filter it out where they have something to combat what mommy and daddy will probably teach them. Now, at the end of this, in other news, an Asian woman was verbally assaulted by a racist. Now, see, I'm the type of person If you truly got my back, I got your back. If you truly got my back, I got your back. Now we're going to move on. This is the gentleman right here. His own community turned it back on him. Why? The community got a code. And if you go outside of that code, they're going to show you that you're outside of the code. And they'll go as far as keeping business away from you. I'm canceling my insurance. They're going to do whatever they can to whip you back into position. They'll boycott you. They'll divest from you to get you back into position. And that's what the black community need to do with some of these people who always talking about we need to get rid of the story of black slavery and Jim Crow and all that kind of stuff and the Reconstruction and the private. We need to stop talking about the things that happened in the past. If you black saying something like that, man, you off code. And somebody need to do you like they did him. Now, I wouldn't, me personally, I ain't gonna do no death threats. But you got some people, they are that serious about staying on code. You got a legislator saying that if I win this, in Minnesota saying if I win my seat, I'm gonna do whatever I can to remove slavery out of the schools. Fool, you better do whatever you can to bring the truth concerning Black American history in America, uncut and raw. Because if you don't, it ain't helping things to get better. It's making things worse. And who in the heaven and hell are you when you just came to this country 6 years ago? To talk about taking something out of this country that's been going on way before you was even born. You have no rights. And honestly speaking, black people should be coming after that brother for saying that. Non-violently. Non-violently. Now, I want to get to another subject concerning this, because it's important. Now, there's a narrative going around that Asians are being attacked. And I'm not saying they're not being attacked. But I got a feeling, because we're talking about reparation, because we're charging the federal government for the crimes of humanity against black people, now we're calling out racism using the word white supremacy. Now we're doing that. Now we got people on the squad doing that. It seems like everybody, they want to find some way to get the narrative off dismantling white supremacy and get us focused on Asian attacks. We're going down the road of dealing with injustice in America, restructuring the private prison system, dismantling the private prison system, changing some of the laws. Let me tell you something. Some of these laws concerning policing, especially when it comes to brute force, you don't have to create a new law for that. All you have to do is demand that they use the law without bias. If I sit there and find you and I put handcuffs on you as a private citizen and I put my knee on your neck, I will go to jail for first-degree murder. Why the cops don't get to go when they do it? Oh, they had a reason. Maybe I had a reason too. Maybe you tried to beat up my mama. Any reason to do. Maybe you looked at me the wrong way. Maybe I just had a bad attitude and I just want to whip up on some Negroes. Because we still got cops doing that today. But here we got hundreds gathered in Seattle to protest on Asian Americans. Now, I recently saw, let's look at it. Let's look at this. Hundreds. Now, here's the deal. Most of these people came out because grandma got pushed on the ground. Witches sad, witches suck, and whoever did this should be ashamed of themselves. I don't know what grandma did either. See, that's how they do with us. When something happened with black people, what did he do? What did he do? But when it comes to Asians, they don't say what did he do. They don't say, well, he probably was a criminal, or so we don't know. Well, it's just an old lady. Well, it's not old ladies and old men. It's an old lady and old man. But if it's an old man, probably in his 70s, they still gonna say, what did he do? He probably said something out of his mouth he shouldn't have said. Now we're talking about private citizen attacking a private citizen is wrong. It's horrible. But it ain't nowhere near as a police officer choking out, putting his knee on, busting in a house with a no-knock warrant and just shooting away. It's nowhere near that. So right now, don't talk about police brutality. Talk about what's going on in the streets in the Asian community. How about talk about the same thing goes on in every community, but as soon as a few people in that neighborhood get attacked and it's wrong to attack them, it make national news. But there's black people being attacked every day in the black neighborhood. Some of them are by Asians, some of them by Puerto Ricans, some of them by Latinos, some of them by black people, but they don't get the same attention. And some of them are elderly. Some of them are elderly. Recently here in New York, an elderly person was going into the building. She lived in the projects, yeah. Somebody came in there and pushed her out in a wheelchair, pushed her out of the electric wheelchair and robbed her. It's not reported. Didn't make the Washington Post. Didn't make The Hill. Hate is a virus. Former Washington Governor Gary Locke with powerful words during today's Stop Asian Hate rally. Did you say that about the black grandma that probably got knocked upside the head in your same town? Now, don't get me wrong, hate is hate, and nobody should be going around hating, but I'm just saying you can't put it on the same level with ours. Because sure, we got dumb idiots out here in the streets busting up people upside the head, just like we got you guys got people. There's people in the Asian neighborhoods busting some people upside the head. But we don't make the news. We barely make the local news. Even after we report it, we barely make the local news. More importantly, how many cops are putting on the knee on the neck of Asians? How many cops are choking out Asians? How many cops look at a big giant Asian muscular dude and say he's trouble and kill him after he's coming from church or the temple? So yeah, this is not cool, but it's not on the level of the stuff that we go through. And right now, it seems like they're trying to cover up or trying to throw the indecency and crimes of humanity against blacks from higher authority to, it could be black people out there causing these crimes in the Asian neighborhood. Most black people ain't got time to be going to no Asian neighborhood. Honestly speaking, I very rarely go to Chinatown unless I got people from New York coming from Virginia, Atlanta, hometown, and Florida coming to see me in New York. I always take them to Chinatown because they always want to go. And to me, honestly speaking, it's good for people to go to different neighborhoods that's predominantly made up of the culture of that neighborhood so they can see how they build communities so they can learn and adopt in their own community. Let me keep going. Look at this. Washington Post. I can't even get in here. 83-year-old Asian American woman was spat on and punched so hard she blacked out. Spitting on Spitting on any 83-year-old woman is horrible. Punching any 80-year-old woman is horrible. But you do that to an Asian, it makes the Washington Post. Do that to a black person, it ain't making jack. Like I said, you'll be lucky if it make the local news. Keep going. Maryland governor says his family felt Asian prejudice. Well, welcome to the club, man. We feel prejudice every day as black people. Why your word is greater than mine? Because you're a governor? My family has felt Asian prejudice. Well, my family feel prejudice too. Not only do they feel it, they really, really feel it. And we don't just feel it from some numbnut who don't have nothing to do and just want to do violence maybe because of, like they claim, of the COVID issue and targeting Asians because of COVID. There ain't no that many black people targeting Asians because of COVID. We don't make no big deal about calling it the China virus. We don't do that. Unless you some black, dumb Trump supporter who just drunk the Kool-Aid. Now, recently they had a news, I'm going to talk about that in another show, about this brother who they claim attacked this woman in White Plains, New York, which is not too far from where I live. Now, if it was a white guy that did that, they would say maybe he got some mental issues. Or if it was an Asian guy that did that to another Asian, there was maybe he got some mental issues. Maybe he's not right in the head. No, let a black person do it. Oh, he's a thug. I feel sorry for your mama. He's a reject. I mean, this, like I said, violence against anybody is wrong. But the way they are magnifying this, oh, I can't show nothing from NBC. Yes, I can. Give me a moment. I can play it, but I can't show it because they'll strike me. They will strike me. Let me just play the audio and let you hear.
Thursday, during his first primetime address to the nation, Weijia Jiang reports.
President Biden's message about the attacks on Asian Americans was clear.
It's wrong, it's un-American, and it must stop.
The advocacy group Stop AAPI Hate has...
Now, mind you, this Mr. Three Strike Laws, this is Mr. I'm allowed the police to do whatever necessary to get information out of you about drugs or violence or crime. And he has not changed that. Now, he is going to bring this up. Now, like I said, we got the president addressing Asian American violence, but he cannot properly address white supremacist violence against black people from the FBI all the way down to the local police department. Either way, it's crime. Whether it's a person on the street doing it, and we don't know what's his mental condition until it comes to being a black guy, ain't got nothing to do with mental. This guy's a thug. And like I said, like the brother in Oklahoma, he just got out of the car, was minding his own business, doing what the cops said, trying to peacefully. He's a pastor. He just got out of church with his wife. And just because he was big, or he looked like a threat, they kill him. Grandma get pushed on the ground and make national news. Now, that did make national news, but it's stuff like that go on locally, police brutalizing, and then we experience violence from some everywhere. If we go in the wrong neighborhood in New York or go in the wrong neighborhood, we're liable to experience not just violence from the locals in there, but from the police. You don't see it. You don't see that type of violence on a higher level, on a higher authority in the Asian community. When the last time you seen a cop beat an Asian to death or dragged him out the car and stumped him and bragged about it? And we got the president talking about probably less than 100 incidents in a whole year, when there's thousands of incidents of police brutality towards black or any kind of authority towards black, and it never get announced. Look at this. I mean, protesters march.
Movie night.
Should have been watching the stove instead.
Tell me something I don't.
Commercials, man, I tell you. Protesters march in the street. Hey, when things are wrong, you have a right to go march. I mean, and what it is the community itself decides that we're not going to wait on the police department. We're going to come together as one. We're going to form our own watch group. The moment the black community decide to form its watch group and take matters in its own hand and protect their own people, they call them radicals, they call them nutwings, and they'll do whatever they can to kill the black messiah. I bet no black messiah pop up. I bet not see a leader. We gonna kill him. They got this organization called NWA, I guess. Something about Asians, Asians with attitude, AWA, Asian with attitude. That's claiming that they're going to take back their streets. But let a black person take back their streets. Oh, we can't have that. No, we can't have that. And now they're going to make it harder, because if they start popping up 1 or 2 blacks out of these incidents, 100, they're going to make it seem like all blacks did that. And next thing you know, we got a division between this black, brown, and Asian coalition for equal rights. This article, NBC News, how black people can be strong allies to the Asian Americans right now. Why it's just us? A big part of how to be allies in this moment is advocating with us, said Alvina Wong of the Asian Pacific Environmental Network. I guess you want to use our power, our ability to protest, our ability to boycott, our ability to divest, to help your agenda go through. But when it comes to reparations and things like that, we ain't getting no help. Now, honestly speaking, if a black person see another black person act like a fool to another Asian person, they gonna get on that for the simple fact you making us look bad. Get your stupid behind from around here before we whoop your behind. We don't play that. We're not most black people are not gonna allow you to undermine the elderly. I don't care what color they are, we ain't allowing that. But who does that for our elderly? They won't even let us protect our own elderly. Big news everywhere. Rise of Asian attacks. Racism is a virus. Bostonian gather for Stop Asian Hate rally. Let me tell you something. Hate goes everywhere. My mom and people I know say hate is like a demonic spirit, man. It gets in somebody, and oftentimes it's transferred from one nut wing into an open vessel. It has to be taught in you. And a lot of time it's taught in you through experience. And people use that experience to radicalize you. An experience like this about somebody knocking grandma upside the head, she survived. She didn't die. I'm not saying everybody don't die, but most of these people survive and living. Some fool just decided to push somebody on the ground, but they survived. They didn't die. They didn't put a gun to their mouth and shoot them in the head. They didn't strangle them. They didn't beat them up to a pulp, kept stumping on them until he dead. They did some, most of these people survive. And I'm not saying it's right for them to do that. It's wrong for people to do that. But most of these people They have a traumatic experience, but they live for another day. We don't get no chance. You could be a black girl with your kids in the house and somebody do something, and the boyfriend do something to you, beat you up, and in front of your kids, you call the police. He runs out the back door. Police come to your house and they shoot you. Don't barely make the news and local news. No hate charge in murder of elderly Asian woman in Oakland. No hate crime charge. Well, some people, are you going to make every murder a hate crime charge? Maybe the person just a murderer. You know, there's people who murder you and don't have no hate towards you based on your color. How many people you know, is in jail because they killed somebody because they're Asian? Heck, how many people in jail because they killed somebody because they're black? No, they're still riding around in their police cars. Not all cops. You got to make sure that the cause of the murder was hate. But they're going to try to make every crime against an Asian a hate crime, and every crime against an Asian, every crime against a black, every crime against a white is not necessarily a hate crime. You sit up there, you won the lottery, and you bogart, and you showing how much money people that you hit on the lottery. Bro, I hit 10,000, and you waving it around and making it rain about everybody on the girls at the nightclub, but you drunk. Man, them folks ain't beat your behind and take your money because you happen to be an Asian or white. But no, you were flashing money out, and they ain't got no money. And you just flaunting in their face. There's many reasons why people do stupid stuff, and 9 times 10 is not hate crime. I'm just going through all these articles. Teen Vogue EIC Alexi McCammon apology to Asians is enough. Who do you expect to apologize? I know I'm not alone when I say I've been subjected to various iteration of these hateful words for long as I can remember. Now Googling how to not wake up with a swollen Asian eye and outdone by Asians. What's new? The problem is that many of us Asians in America have too often walked away from these racist encounters rather than speaking up and out about it. Admittedly, I adapted to learn helplessly, redirected my anger to proving my worth as an American, to proving that I belong. Well, that's the story of the black community. Still not enough for us. Despite the way that I look, unfairly placed a burden of proof on me is more than overdue now that when we loudly condemn these kinds of injustice until our fellow Americans understand our pain and action. That's what we've been saying all this time. Now you're experiencing some things so you can finally understand what we go through, even though you will never understand because it's not to the level that we go through. Just keep going on. After 75-year-old dies from an attack, alarm increased in Oakland's Asian community. She was robbed and assaulted by a man police said had a history of victimizing elderly Asian people. Man, this fool probably had a history of finding any elderly person. I'm quite sure if this fool was seeing a black elderly woman that has no way of protecting herself, he will attack her too. But they're going to make this about attacking Asians. He murdered her because she was Asian. No, that fool murdered because he is a robber. And he assault people. It didn't matter. It did not matter whether it was Asian, black, white. If you're elderly and vulnerable, he would attack you. But they're going to make it about attack on Asians. A 75-year-old man from Hong Kong died in Oakland, California. After being robbed and assaulted by a man police said had a history of victimizing elderly Asian people. All right, what if in his record he has a history of victimizing black people? Are you saying he has a history of victimizing elderly black people or elderly white people or elderly Latino people? Folks, what I'm saying is victimizing people in general is wrong. Attacking people in general is wrong. But motive attack is everything. You can't just spin up and assume that people got attacked because they're Asians. Just like I can't assume that police probably beat this dude up because he's black. I need to know the situation. Because you do got some, I've seen some of these brothers spit on the cops, call them all kind of names. Now the cops still don't supposed to be beating on them, but dude, you can't be doing that without expecting a return. But most of the time you got people who are cordial in their dealing with the authorities, and it's still not enough. And you have a right to say the law. You have the right to stand in defense of what's been edged in our Constitution. You got a right to stand on your Constitution. It's your Constitution. They may say it's not, and they may say it wasn't written for you, but it's yours. You helped build this country, especially black people. We're done. We're done. See, they won't even let me read this. We're done. And this is just in one major area. They talked about New York recently, but most of these are in the Bay Areas. All these articles are in San Francisco. It's wrong and it's un-American and it must stop. Well, you've been brutalizing black people since you've been in office, all slick and sly, but you don't do it by running up on them and busting them inside the head and taking money from them, or just beating them up because they're Asian. You do it through the moves of legislation. Now look at this. Do I think this is right? No, you don't. If you're going around attacking people, your butt need to be in jail. But we don't know, did they catch this man? No. Let me tell you something before I continue. Then I go to the last one and then I'm done. Let me understand this. Law enforcement officers, some of them are so lazy. They'll see something like that, a man with a black hood on. And let me tell you something, when I work out, I have black sweatpants and I have a black hood on. Black sneakers. I'm running around the complex on the track, and I still be scared that some cop might run and get me, thinking I'm a suspect to a crime. Man, I've been out here trying to get my 5 miles. I ain't got time to be robbing nobody. But because I got a hood on with my headphones and I'm dressed in all black, I'm suspect. Now, we don't know what color this person is right here. This is the only surveillance they got. But let a black man be within the vicinity of this area with a hood on. Guess who's going to jail for this crime? It could be a Trump supporter. It could be a Biden supporter. It could be somebody just hateful. Don't matter what color it is. And it could be non-black. But the moment a black man put on a hoodie and dress either similar to that, he's going to go down, and they're going to press charges against him because they need to satisfy the community. It's just like the story of the Central Park 5. Just grab anybody that was in the area and let's charge him. And then let's make this about black people attacking Asians. Asian grandma spit and punched in the nose in unprovoked attack in Westchester. Now, this is my neighborhood. All right, we're gonna let this play a little bit. doggone commercials, but I want to hear what they got to say. Now, I read this article, but I never played the video. Let's listen to this.
Fortunately, another victim of Asian American violence in New York to tell you about. A heartbreaking story tonight. An 83-year-old woman in Westchester County, the city of White Plains, just walking on the sidewalk Tuesday night when a thug spits at her and then punches her in the face. And
when a thug attack her, spit at her and punch her in the face. Now, how I'm interested in seeing, right along with you guys, how did they assume this was an attack on her because she was Asian? Like I said, I don't always call an attack on black people a racist attack. I don't. But when I see through surveillance from cop watchers or your own camera, and I see that this guy didn't provoke you to do anything, and you start hauling out, blurting out all these names, and you just randomly pick them up out of nowhere and assuming that they did it, that's prejudice. Well, let's listen to this guy.
came to, there was blood everywhere. Hate spewed like it was nothing, but it is something. It's horrible.
Hate. What was the signal that it was about hate? Now, if he pushed her down the ground just because he hate the color, again, that's wrong. But then you got some fools that get jacked up and do stupid stuff like attack people just to attack people. No hate involved. They're just ignorant fools. So you got to get down to the nitty gritty. How can you do you see this as a heinous attack on the elderly, or is this about her color?
With the victim,
both of them are wrong. But don't spin the narrative that it's about an Asian grandma, because you don't spin the narrative about a black grandma.
Here's Safan Kim.
갑자기 쳐들어왔어요.
You might not be able to tell from the fire in her voice, but 83-year-old Nancy Toe came face to face with terror this week. And inside, she is shaking, and she has the battle scars to prove it.
그래서 이렇게 하는데 침을 얼굴에 뱉어서.
In this Eyewitness News exclusive, speaking in Korean, she says her assailant came up to her, nose to nose, then cocked his head back and spit in her face. She closed her eyes, and that's when he punched her right in her nose. She fell to the ground, hit the back of her head, was knocked unconscious. Eventually, a Good Samaritan saw her lying there and came to her aid. When she opened her eyes, she was covered in her own blood, drenched in her pain.
Bleeding lots from the brain. It looks like, pumping out.
I didn't think it was so close to home, and now I'm afraid to go out, and my kid is afraid to go out.
Nancy's daughter says her mother waited a day to tell police. Culturally, Asians are taught not to speak up, keep their heads down, and plow forward. Nancy also didn't want to go to the hospital because she can't afford the medical bills. It happened Tuesday night around 7:30 outside of Nordstrom at the Westchester Mall in White Plains. Nancy was out collecting bottles and cans for money. Just a day after the victim reported the incident to police, detectives today took into custody 40-year-old Glenmore Nemherd and charged him with felony assault for intending to injure a person over 65. The suspect is homeless with a long, violent history.
An incident like this, we throw all of our resources at it.
Now, let's stop here for a second. People say innocent till proven guilty. Okay, I'm not going to assume that this, unless I got video footage, I can't assume. Because like I said, oftentimes, I've been to that mall before in Westchester County. It's not too far from the Metro North train station. Just walk down the street. Most of that mall is monitored and have security. Now, I've yet to see in this video the security of this man that they picked up that's homeless, that have a history of violent crimes. If you got a history of violent crime and homeless, why don't you just take him to jail, get him, hop in the cot 3 meals a day and get him off the streets? I'm interested in seeing the video footage. Now, I know some of you probably say, Robert, now you can kind of bias. No, you know my motto. With the Rob Report, I used to say, well, the truth will make you free. I'm always about getting to the truth and dealing with it. I feel sorry for this sweet Asian lady. You know, she seemed like a sweet lady and horrible. It don't matter whether it's black, white, Asian, whoever punched her. If she didn't try to attack you with a knife or try to hurt you, you have no reason to be trying to punch at her. Now, let me say something. If this man was homeless and have mental issues or just crazy or got a history of crime, you think he see any grandmother, any Asian? See, they had to put Asian grandma up here. They didn't say elderly Asian woman. They're pulling out your heartstring that this could have been your grandma. It doesn't matter if the guy's mentally ill and he's homeless. He probably asked for, and you know, he probably asked for some money and she refused him. And he probably did look her in the face, spit in the face, and punched her, which is wrong. And he need to be locked up. But you need to make sure you got the right person, because according to this, that big old mall have security everywhere. So let's see if they got this on video. And guess who the reporter is? An Asian. We don't get too many black reporters reporting on our incidents. See, what I'm saying is, this is bad, very bad, but it's none compared to what, because we don't get any press. We don't get any public like this unless we make a big noise about it. These people was getting press without making a big noise, and then the noise come. After the articles come out about what's going on in the Asian community with the Asian grandma, then the community make noise, and then the community take matters in their own hand, and they don't get no resistance or no watchdog over them like they do the black community. Black grandmas get spit on too and punched in the nose too, in an unprovoked attack. But it doesn't hit the news. Rarely hit the Channel 7 news, which is local New York news. There's a bias here.
This was a very disturbing and serious incident that occurred in Safe City, and it's one that we would not tolerate.
While there is no evidence at this point, the attack was motivated by hate.
While there's no evidence at this point, the attack was motivated by hate. How can you determine that if there was no evidence? See, at least with police brutality, you got other people with cameras. There's videotaping. You got the video cameras from the cops. How can you assume this when you got no evidence? Let's go back and listen to that.
And it's one that we would not tolerate.
While there is no evidence at this point, the attack was motivated by hate. Detectives are vowing to leave no stone unturned. Still, the assault was unprovoked against an elderly, vulnerable Asian American.
They're going to leave no stones unturned for an act of assault. But a murder in the black community, nobody says. We're going to get to the bottom of this. We're going to unturn every stone. We're going to get to the bottom of this. We're going to find out who shot this little boy who happened to be on the basketball court, who innocently get a bullet because somebody was shooting, trying to shoot at somebody else. Like I said, this is wrong, but we don't get the same exposure. We don't get the same exposure. George Floyd is one incident that you got to see live on camera because everybody got Facebook, TikTok and all that, and people watched him die. Yet we get more deaths and we get more brutalization from the cops on down to people who happen to be in the wrong neighborhood that just want to do something stupid.
Part of a larger disturbing trend nationwide. Tonight, the president calling for unity.
Vicious hate crimes against Asian Americans who've been
Large and disturbing. Most of this stuff taking place that we hear in San Francisco. This is one incident we heard in Westchester. She was spit on, punched in the nose, unprovoked. She wasn't murdered. This guy could have been a nutwing and murdered her. We don't really know why this guy did this stupid act, but they trying to continue to ride this Asian is being attacked. Rob, you can't say they doing that to change the narrative away from dealing from white supremacy, from calling it out. Well, when the last time you heard anything about white supremacy since the Trump campaign, since they infiltrated the Senate? You got the George Floyd bill, which is trash, that don't even mention white supremacy in it, that does not deal with cops' ability to murder with impunity. And now we getting stories about Asian attacks, which should be a story. But our stories should be just as much as a story. This is not a brash happening in just about every state. And if it is, the show not being reported correctly. But you got these particular incidents happening in Asian neighborhoods, and it's going national for just somebody who getting punched. Somebody got assaulted. And we lived the life of being assaulted all our lives since we got into this country, and nobody make a big deal about it, and they still not making a deal about it. Only when something happened where the world is jarred, like this Vietnamese when he saw George Floyd, do people want to get involved with our situation. Let me keep going, and I'm almost done. Rise in anti-Asian violence put added strain on struggling New York City restaurants. How? How? Did the rise the rise in anti-black violence put strains in New York City? Because we sure get more of that than anybody. It's not being reported. Hate crimes against Asian Americans are on the rise. Many say more policing isn't the answer. In other words, let us handle our own policing. Let us handle our own neighborhoods. So if something happened to an elderly woman and they get hurt, you find the nearest black person and make him pay the consequences when he probably ain't had nothing to do with it. That's what they used to do in white neighborhoods. A white lady get attacked in Bensonhurst. Just get them. Why are you running after me? We know you did it. How do you know I did it? We just know you did it. Get them. What are you going to do? Just like they murdered that boy in Atlanta. He's jogging. Like me, I see houses that are being built and it fascinates me on how they build. Sometimes I stop and look at the car and I get out and I look at the structure. There's no trespassing sign. I'm just amazed, especially in Virginia Beach on Masters Lane. I'm amazed at the beauty of the building and the structure. And I just happen to don't even go all the way in. I just happen to be up front and just looking at, wow, man, this is amazing. And I could have been shot. And there's cases like that that goes on all across this country. Somebody being in the wrong place at the wrong time, at least what they say is the wrong place at the wrong time. But there's not a rise in anti-black crime. When people commit crimes against us, it's not anti-black crime. But you commit a crime in any other community, it's anti-Asian or anti-Irish crimes or whatever. But there's no such thing as rise in anti-black crime, or y'all understand what I'm saying. How to address the surge of Asian hate crimes. All these articles. Report of anti-Asian hate crimes rose nearly 150%. Even with that 150%, it's not even nowhere near the speckle of the crime that goes on against Black Americans in this neighborhood. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's right for them to do that. Anybody committing crimes against Asians, especially because they're Asians, you're wrong. You're wrong. Just as much anybody committing crimes against Black people, you're wrong, especially if it's just because they're Black. We're not at fault, Margaret Cho, on the rise of anti-Asian violence. Let's see if this will play without a commercial. Forever a commercial. But I want to hear what she has to say because it's important. She's an actress. She played on a couple of movies. She's a good actor. Well, let's see what she has to say.
It's so troubling, to say the least, to see how these numbers have risen in the last year. It's also believed that the actual number of incidents is a lot higher because some of the victims don't want to report them. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think there is a lot of shame and...
Wait. You're ashamed to report a crime that happens to you? Well, a friend of mine who happened to be Asian, he said the reason they don't report the crime because Asians usually they used to handling their own business. They felt it is a sense of depravity when they have to go to, let me just say, anybody outside their community for help. They're used to handling things on their own, and they want to make it that way without being bothered, which is what they're supposed to do. Now, we'll call out a crime in a minute, especially when it happens to something like us. Yet we see nobody do anything about it. Yet when we try to take matters in our own hand, it's a big problem. You better not take matters in your own hand.
A kind of stoic belief that if we hang on to this pain and don't share it with other people, that there can be some way of it maybe never happening. And I think that throughout history, the Asian community has really had a stigma towards calling for help, asking for mental help, any kind of thing that is really making us stand out because of our suffering. It is a form of losing face, which is a kind of an Asian thing that, we're always avoiding. But these are old cultural norms that we have to get rid of. Racism is real, and it's happening to us. And you should be able to understand that people shouldn't be racist. People should not be racist. We're not at fault.
She ain't gonna understand because she don't experience it. She's not gonna experience it like you or any Black person. So she's not understanding. But Miss Cho, you're wrong. I believe my friend's story over yours. They have a sense of pride of taking care of business their own way, just like the Italians. You come in the Italian neighborhood and mess with an old grandma, Italian grandma, sweet little Nana. I bet you wish you would knock her, boy. The whole entire mafia coming after your behind. Because they got a code. They handle their own business, but let black people do that.
Here, we didn't cause this mysterious disease, but it's somehow being blamed on us.
I mean,
yeah, and we know you, black people know you didn't cause this disease too. It probably came from that country, but you already in this country, so we don't blame you for it, but they will try to make it seem like we're taking the action on you when they need to really do it. Like I said, they're not going to waste their energy trying to get to the truth of who was doing these violent crimes. Authorities are lazy. It's easy to pass the buck on a black person, the nearest black person in the neighborhood, and that's going to cause hate from the Asians to the Asian community to the black community. But you don't see no real black hate from the black community toward Asians. Matter of fact, we got a sense of respect for some Asians because they're real animate about a code, a system within the community that you don't put nothing before your community. You can put it after your community and care about it, but your community comes number one. And you do everything to protect your community. You do everything to invest in your community and bring prosperity to it. But no, don't you dare buy this narrative that black people is causing this. But I guarantee you, before this is said and done, they're going to make this a black issue just to take away the power of black people complaining about their racism, the racism that goes on in their neighborhood. How you going to talk about your racism and you being racist toward Asian? Who told you that lie? Don't use these horrible crimes that's going on in the Asian community. Even and when I say crime, one crime is bad, but we're like way off the charts compared to you. Way off the charts. It's wrong. This is bad. This is sad. But it's nowhere near the level that we go through, and we don't get half the coverage. Unless it's so freaking bad that it disgusts other people to shame. Now, when I see somebody with a hood just knocking out an old Asian woman, that disgusts me to shame if I see that. And like, honestly speaking, if black person see that, I believe even if some white people see that, they gonna like, yo, man, what is wrong with you? And let us find out whether you Asian, white, even if you black. We find out you going around knocking old ladies upside the head for any reason. It ain't got to be color. It could be for any reason. We whooping your behind. And we better not catch you in this area again. We going to whoop your behind some more. You're lucky you'll probably crawl out of here with your life. Because we, just like any other community, our grandma, we see our elderly grandma, that's our grandma. So should Asians be upset and have a right to be upset? Yes. Every color should be upset when somebody in their neighborhood, especially elderly, are being attacked, especially if they're being attacked because of their culture or their color. Yes, they have a right to be upset. But you don't have the right to actually think that your situation is should get the attention over. I mean, I know some of you people think I'm going all over the place with this. I can't care. I care about what happens to all people, especially elderly people. If you've done nothing to nobody, then nothing should be done to you. But you got to understand, you got crazy nutsos out here. You got people that's mentally insane. You got, and when it comes to actually finding out what's going on, these people are not thorough. They'll blame it on anybody. And when they just blame it on just about anybody, and the easiest person to blame it on is the nearest black person, because people will believe that story over another Asian attacking another Asian. Or a white attacking the Asians. And don't get me wrong, Asian tax Asians. I told you, most of the crimes done in your neighborhood are done by people in your neighborhoods. Ain't nobody going from cross town, ain't nobody leaving the Bronx going all the way to Staten Island, taking that long trip just to wait for you to come outside and jump on you. And just because they wait for you to come outside and jump on you and take your money doesn't mean they did it because you're white. They would have did it because you're black too, because you got money. So what I'm saying is, these crimes are crimes, but you can't necessarily say all of them are hate crime. Just like when the police are committing crimes against black folks, I can't say everyone are crimes against black folks. If you trying to punch an officer and he didn't do nothing provoking, you spit on him just because he's a person in blue and stuff like that, not every cop's gonna be cordial. But then again, you got a bunch of cops that's just gonna point you out and beat on you just for the simple fact him and his wife are not doing too good. Which brings me to this story, and then I'm done. Gonna be sore. Louisiana trooper boasted in group text of beating a black man. Now you got cops boasting about beating them. Now, if you got a person on video, a black person boasting about beating up an old lady, every black man need to beat that person up. I don't care if it's an Asian old lady or a black old lady. You need to be hanging them dry. If you caught him on video and camera, tell me, yeah, I beat that black son of a blah, 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 behind. If you can find that white guy or that Latino guy or even that black guy, you deserve your butt whooping. Louisiana State Police trooper joked in a group text about beating a black man after a high-speed chase last year, saying the whipping would give the man nightmares for a long time, according to the new court filing. Okay, the black man weren't willing to get arrested, and he put y'all on a high-speed chase. See, there you go. He had it coming. Who said he had it coming? Just because white people do high-speed chases too, do you say he had it coming? Asians do high-speed chase. A high-speed chase is not just reserved for a black person. And a lot of times when black people run from the police, it's because we know how some of these police are. And some of us know a particular police officer that we don't want to deal with because we know how he get down. So when he come to you and you know that person and you know what he's known for, you ain't going to sit him and just let him. You trying to get away from that fool. Because he'll liable to put drugs in your pocket. He'll liable to put a knife in your pocket and shoot you, saying you're trying to pull a knife out of him. They said the whooping would give the man nightmares for a long time, according to the new court filing. He gonna be sore tomorrow for sure. Trooper Jacob Brown, who was charged in the case and resigned Wednesday, texted 3 of his colleagues. Warms my heart knowing we could educate that young man. The May arrest of 29-year-old Antonio Harris, who authorities say was beaten by troopers even after he immediately surrendered, bears a strong resemblance to the state police pursuit a year earlier that ended in a still unexplained death of another black motorist, Ronald Green. Now, did these 4 cops beat the dude up because he was black? Because they couldn't catch him? Maybe they got mental issues. Maybe they got problems at home. The bottom line, a black man got the whooping of his life and you're bragging about it and got caught on audio. You deserve what you got. And I say the same thing about anybody that's beating up an Asian woman, black woman, or white woman and bragging about it because of their color or just for the fact they're a woman or whatever. Listen to this now. Green's death was captured on body-worn camera footage the agency refused to release and remains the subject of a federal civil rights investigation. See, when it come to us, they want to cover stuff up. When it come to other people, they look for the nearest black person and blame the charge and put the charges on them, and they ain't had nothing to do with it most of the time. This combination of photos provided by Coachita Correctional Center and Franklin Parish Sheriff Officer show Louisiana State Trooper Jacob Brown left to the right, Randall Dickerson, George Harper, and Dakota DeMoss. Don't see no black people. I see 4 white guys. Police officers. Brown, 30, who faced charges in 2 other excessive force cases. He got a record, just like that homeless guy. So they say. He pulled Harris over for a minor traffic violation on Interstate 20 in Richard Parish. When Harris re-entered his vehicle and fled, state police said, hold up, let me stop. He pulled Harris over for a minor traffic violation on Interstate 20 in Richland Parish when Harris re-entered his vehicle and fled, state police said. Now, honestly, if you are not committing me with the crime and you're not going to charge him, he has a right to leave. Give me the ticket so I can go. You're not here to harass me and bash me. Give me the ticket so I can go. The insurance chase spanned 29 miles, reached speeds of 150, and ended up only after Deputy Sheriff deployed the tire deflation device that caused Harris to drive into a ditch, and the court records show. Now, mind you, you fleeing for police like you committed a crime ain't good for you too. Now, if you're not being charged for a crime, you should be able to say on the camera, am I being charged for a crime? If the police say no, then the law says I'm free to go. I'm leaving. You got plenty of people on video that's white that has done that, and the police knew that was his right and let him go. But a black man can't do that. Now, for you to act like, as a black man, to act like you committed a crime and you don't want them to know about it, and you start driving 150 miles an hour, that ain't gonna help your situation, bro. An internal investigation found the responding trooper, who are white, attacked Harris even though he surrendered. Now the man gives up the chase and said, all right, you got me. Go ahead and arrest me. He surrendered. He laid his face down, prone on the ground, and extended his arms away from his body and his legs spread apart. I know you're frustrated. I know this man had you on a chase. I know you don't appreciate that. I know this man made you work for this arrest. But the bottom line, he surrendered and you had no right to attack him. The first arriving trooper, Dakota DeMoss, delivered a knee strike. These are public servants, the one who are here to serve and protect. Even Mr. Harris. And Mr. Harrison has a job and he's paying taxes. They still work for him. But they gave him a knee strike. And they slapped him to the face with an open palm. Yeah, right. Before powering off his body-worn camera. Why are you powering off your camera? Well, the cops plan on, if the cop power down their camera, ain't nothing good coming out of this. You about to get your butt whooped, if not shot and killed. DeMoss, 28, also initiated Green's arrest in May 2019, though state police have not provided any details about his involvement. Another trooper, George Harper, 26, punched Harris in the head several times with the fist reinforced by a flashlight and threatened to punish Harris while Brown pulled the man's hair. Now, mind you, I'm going to ask you a question. How many of you heard about this story? Did it make the Huffington Post? Did it make The Hill? Did it make USA Today? Did it make CNN? The man still have rights. He shouldn't have ran away from the cops. He made it hard for him. He made those cops earn that rest. But the bottom line is, once they put the tires out there and blew, and he had no choice to stop, he came out and he surrendered. Yet they still beat him down like he was Rodney King Jr. The troopers produce wholly untrue reports. In other words, they lied to justify the beating, saying Harris was resisting. The only time he resists is when he speed up on y'all behind and made y'all earn that conviction. You arrest him and charge him for resistive arrest. You don't beat him up. Resisting and continuing to flee, the filings say, and they sought to conceal from investigators that there was a body cam video. They also exchanged 14 text messages peppered with LOL, ha ha ha, responses in which they boasted about the beating and mocked Harris. So they was proud. Yo, we got this fool. We gave him old, good old Southern white racist bigot KKK style whooping, boy. Louisiana style. Bet he won't run from a full-grown bear again. Most people, when they see a bear, they're going to run. They don't know to lay down and stay still and play dead. Bet he don't even cross into L.A., no, Louisiana anymore. In other words, we whooped that boy so bad, he'll be scared to come back to this town. This is our town. DeMoss responded, who earlier jeered that Harris was still digesting the ASS whipping. I bet he's still digesting that butt whipping we gave him. He gonna spread the word, that's for doggone sure. In other words, we whipped this behind, he gonna go back and telling them other Negros that plan on coming to Louisiana. When you come to Louisiana, don't come in that county. Take a look at me. They whooped the crap out of me. And they're going to do the same thing to you, instilling fear toward black people about white people in Louisiana. DeMoss and Harper also are charged in Harris' arrest and were placed on administrative leave after the internal investigation. Good old administrative leave. Probably still got a check. Probably went to Disney World and everything. Had a good time collecting the check, not doing nothing. Knowing that they're probably going to get off scot-free, hoping that they are. The filings showed DeMoss originally received only counseling for his role in Harris' beating. Let me repeat that. The filings showed DeMoss originally received only counseling for his role in the beatdown of this brother. Admonished for turning his FM radio up extremely loud during the chase and switching stations in order to find the right song. This man was so fueled with hate, he got to find a beatdown song. Like it's a workout. You know, you get a good workout when you got the right song going on. Well, I'm about to get this good workout on this Negro. Let me find the right song. A message sent to attorney for the other troopers was not immediately returned. Brown's attorney declined to comment. Efforts to reach Harris, who appears to be from Mississippi, were not immediately successful. The new court filing were first reported by Sound of Louisiana on a local blog. Harris' arrest drew new attention after months-long internal investigation into use of force incidents in the northern part of the states. So the story remained regional. Most people didn't know about this. But one grandma get knocked down and it's wrong. It's plastered all over the news. A probe began amid mounting scrutiny of the agency's Troop F, which patrols the Monroe area and the surrounding parishes. Brown and another trooper, Randall Dickerson, 34, and also are also charged in a July 2019 drug arrest of another black man after a traffic stop on Interstate 20 in Quachita Parish. Body-worn cameras captured Dickerson striking the man 5 times towards the head and administering a knee strike to his body, according to court records. Well, they had it coming. He was arrested for drugs. Let me read that again. He was charged in July 2019 for the drug arrest of another black man after a traffic stop in Interstate Quachita Parish. Body-worn camera captured Dickerson striking the man. Drug arrests don't necessarily mean that you're convicted of drugs. It was a drug arrest. Majority of the time, their motto is to Your lights out, you were swerving, they're finding a reason to look for drugs. And when you got crooked cops, a lot of time they're on drugs, and they may have something in their pocket to run you in. Brown also was arrested in December on battery and malfeasance charges. In another incident involving a man who says authorities followed him to his house, dragged him from his car, and beat and kicked him, breaking his ribs. These some nice guys. Support the blue. Support the blue. Wear the black flag with the blue line. Bruh, I support blue when blue support me. You're attacking me. But they want to change the narrative about white supremacy from the rooter to the tutor and getting rid of it. And they'll bring up other stories that, yes, are horrible, but it make the national news over white supremacists in the police force. Federal authorities separately are investigating troopers from the same truth in the death of Green. Troopers initially blamed 49-year-old death on a crash at the end of the high-speed chase. They got do anything to get it off of us and put it on this black man. But photos of Green car show little damage. And his family attorney says body cam footage showed troopers choking and beating the man, repeatedly jolting him with the stun gun and dragging him face down across the pavement. Here's the last story. Grinning Virginia trooper drags black man out of car by his neck, give a ASS whooping, and say, watch the show, folks. So this brother probably been stopped, harassed by the cops, just probably for the simple fact because he black, got dreadlocks, and he looked like he's up to something. He could be a scholar, could be, who knows? We don't know this guy. He could be a drug dealer, but he could be a scholar. Can't judge a book by its cover. You're going to get your butt ASS whooped in front of blanket Lord and all creations. A Virginia police was filmed dragging a black man out of his car by the neck after threatening to whoop his. I'm going to whoop your behind, boy. If you don't get out of this car, I'm going to drag you out of this car. The disturbing video shot by Derek Thompson shows the moment he was pulled over by state troopers, identified as Charles Hewitt, while he was driving to work. Thompson began filming the traffic stop in fear of his safety. But that's why I market Legal Shield. You have a right to call your attorney before the cops even come to the car, and your attorney address the cops. You can, and right now we're working on video calls. So the attorney can address the cops while he at the car. But the presence of the camera didn't seem to have a desired effect, as the grinning officers tell viewers, watch the show, folks, before dragging him out the car. The incident occurred in April 2019, but only came to light this week after civil rights lawyer Joshua Ehrlich took on the case, sending a letter to VA Attorney General Mark Herring. What date is this? How many of you guys know about this story? August the 15th, 2020. See, our stories don't come to the light unless it's shocking. A shocking death or a shocking brutal beatdown by police. They're not going to report if a random stranger whoop our behind, or if a random stranger punch our grandma, or if a random stranger push our old uncle down and he busts his head wide open. They're not going to report that, and they're not even going to report it as a hate crime. Heck, they don't even want to report when the police act a fool toward us. He claimed that one day, the day in question, another state trooper stopped Thompson, claiming his inspection sticker was expired. Yeah, any excuse to try to get in my car. And that she detected an odor of marijuana from the car. Yeah, same old lame old lie. That's why it's always good to have your windows up. And if you crack your window, to hand out your pieces of information if you decide to. Why are you stopping me, officer? If I got a violation, if my inspection sticker is expired, give me the ticket so I can go home and get your butt back in the car. See, for white people, it's that simple. It might be that simple for Asians. It may be that simple for Latinos, to depend on if you look like a white Latino. But if you look like a black Latino, you may get it a little better. But if you jet black, juju black, and some of these cops ain't gonna be that easy. I'm not saying all cops. Some cops gonna go by the book and treat you accordingly. Not all cops are bad. But you got too many that are. Some people did get in the field to serve and protect, but oftentimes they're pressured for quotas and everything, even though they say they don't have quotas. And this is an incident of a cop trying to get their quota. She detected an odor of marijuana from the car. That's the oldest line. It's like, girl, you go into the club and girl, sound like Jerome from Martin. Girl, look at girl. Your name must be Mona Lisa, because you look like a fine work of art. Man, if you don't care them tire lines, get away from me. These are tire lines from the police officers. I'll be like, officer, that one is old. Come up with something better than that. Then we could probably do something. When Thompson did not give consent for a search, operating in the law, she called for backup. You gonna call for backup and he did not consent to the search? He has a right to not consent to the search. That's why it's important for black people, as well as everybody, to know their rights and know how to execute them. And find easier ways to execute your rights, because sometimes your way may not be the right way, because sometimes your way is a little bit belligerent. Even though you're right, your attitude may not help the situation. Because unfortunately, a white woman with an attitude toward the cops exercising the law will get more done than a black man with an attitude toward the cops for violating his rights. Sad to say. The video showed Hewitt opening the car door, and we're going to watch it, and getting right in Thompson's face and telling him, take a look at me. I'm a blanket specimen right here. Buddy, you have gotten on my last nerve. So we're going to listen to this video. Let's see if we can pull it up.
You can't do that, sir. This officer is trying to unlock my car. This officer is unlocking my car. They just illegally entered my car. And I'm being forcefully removed.
Take a look at me. I'm a fucking specimen right here, buddy.
Sir, I'm
you
in
have gotten on my last
My
nerve.
hands are up on camera.
All right?
I'm in no threat
You're
to these
gonna get your
officers.
ass whooped in front of fucking
My
Lord
hands-
and all creation.
My
I'm gonna
hands are
give
up.
you one more chance.
I'm being threatened.
You can bring that with you. I'll
I'm
let you
being
film
threatened.
the whole thing.
I'm being threatened
No,
right now.
I'm giving you a
and I
chance.
am not doing anything. I feel
Now, guys, I got this screen up, and I can't see whether the audio is coming in. Is the audio coming in good? Is that audio coming in good, people? Somebody tell me, I'm almost done. Okay, let me play it again, okay?
You can't do that, sir. This officer is trying to unlock my car. This officer is unlocking my car. They just illegally entered my car. And I'm being forcefully removed.
Take a look at me.
I'm
a
forcefully
fucking
removed.
specimen right here, buddy.
Sir, I'm
you
in
have
no...
gotten on my last
My
nerve.
hands are up on camera.
All right?
I'm in no threat
You're
to these
gonna get your
officers.
ass whooped in front of
My
fucking Lord and
hands-
all creation.
My
I'm gonna
hands are
give
up.
you one more chance.
I'm being threatened.
You can bring that with you. I'll
I'm
let you
being
film the whole
threatened.
thing.
I'm being threatened
No,
right now.
I'm giving you a
and I
chance.
am not doing anything.
I'm
I feel
giving you-
Now, why the cops don't have his camera on? Virginia, state of Virginia. I used to live in Virginia myself. Where's the cop's body cam? He's talking crap. Like his job won't be pulled away. But we'll continue with the story.
I feel unsafe, and I'm in no threat to these 3 officers. My hands are up. I am doing nothing wrong to provoke anybody or anything. Making sure this is all recorded. I've just been...
Now, he's embarrassed because the nerves of this black man to exercise his rights, to make me look like a fool because I can't really do what I really want to do, but I'm going to get in trouble anyway, so I might as well just go for it.
Threatened by a lawful officer. I have just been threatened by a law officer as 2 other officers stand by and say absolutely nothing. Willing to...
Covering for his... This is the problem with police officers, and sometimes I try to be careful to say not all of them bad, but you got people like here standbys letting their partners or letting this officer act a fool instead of correcting them. Rest in peace to one of my youth kids that grew up in my youth program, Senator Darden, who was one of those cops who was willing to say something against his own comrades, and all of a sudden one day he never did plainclothes police duty before, but because he was going to file charges against other police officers, the next day they put him in plainclothes detail, had him go to the projects to deal with a situation, to check on the situation at a house in plain clothes. And then as he was going to the door, police officers came up to him and shot him, claiming mistaken identity. All because he had on jeans t-shirt with a badge around his neck. But shot him in the back, pulled him over, and saw the badge. All to keep him quiet. And these are the reasons why some of these cops don't say nothing. That's why we need a whole overhaul of the system. And we need to start executing the laws that we put on regular people, the same and equal to police officers.
Participate. My passenger door was open. My driver door was open. I have it on camera. He rolled my window down to do so.
I'm giving you to the count of 3.
Sir, this is all on camera. I am not resisting. I'm making sure it is being known. I am not resisting.
Okay.
My hands are up. One hand on this camera.
Well, come on,
my
then.
seatbelt is being arrested.
As long as your hands are up, that's fine.
I'm not resisting.
As long as your hands are
I
up.
was unlawfully.
Okay, come on
sir,
out.
please do not touch me, sir.
Keep your phone out.
Sir, please do not touch me.
See, that's where we're coming to a disagreement.
It's not about
I'm giving you to the count of 3. Don't do this.
Sir,
Don't do it.
I'm not touching this officer. It's on camera. My hand is by my head.
Step out of the car right
I'm
now.
being threatened.
Now you're under arrest. Now you're under arrest for disobeying the laws and commands of an officer. I'm giving you to the count of 3.
This officer.
Contrary, Blue Code fans, there's no such thing as disobeying the officer. The officer is in total authority. He has to be within the rights of that state and of the Constitution. If you did nothing wrong and they cannot prove anything wrong and they cannot charge you for doing wrong, that nobody has called in a crime and suspected you, he has no right to try to order you around. He has to have a valid crime against you that he suspects you of, and he has to have a valid action from the base to pursue a person with that description. If not, he's in his right to do what he's doing. I know some of you guys don't like that because you're super blue line. The police officers have to obey the law too.
Officer has threatened me, and I'm making it known I am no threat to this officer. I've been threatened.
Watch the show,
My
folks.
life is in danger. My life is in danger.
How do you like that? How do you like that? Huh? Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands. Yes, you are. I'm not resisting. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. Get off me. My hands are behind my back, sir. My hands are behind my back. I am not resisting. Sir, please get off my neck. I'm not resisting. Get off my neck, sir.
Sir, please get off my neck. I am not resisting. Please get off my neck. So since they know chokehold was banned, the next thing, now understand this, you can ban the chokeholds all you want. You can put in the Eric Gardner measure and ban chokeholds and put it in the George Floyd bill, George Floyd bill, all you want. These cops, some of them are race soldiers, are gonna find a way to choke you out. I can't use that method, I'll come up with another method. I can't use that method, we'll come up with another method. When any method of reconstricting somebody's ability to breathe need to be criminalized.
You are harming me. You are harming me. You are harming me, sir. You are harming me.
Now I want to ask you a question. How often is that happening in the Asian community? How often is that happening to Asians? Now, I wouldn't say it doesn't happen, but compared to what's happening to Black Americans, especially ADOS, put the numbers together. What I'm saying is, even though there may these, I wouldn't doubt these Asian. There are people that Asians don't get attacked. People are crazy out here. They'll attack anybody. People get attacked. I wouldn't doubt that. But to make it about race majority of the time and not make this about race. When you got the people who's supposed to be protecting us, attacking us, you got fools out there attacking elderly people, and they want to make it a national issue, and it should be a national issue, but at the end of the day, majority of these people not being attacked like this. And like I said, this is wrong. Shame on them. Horrible if this is really happening. But this is happening on a way another level scale. So the racism that's coming from this ain't the same so-called racism that's going on with that, because a lot of those incidents may not be an incident of racism. It may not be an incident of hate crime. You just got some nutsos that probably just, it could be various reasons why they're doing that. How many videos do you see of white police officers doing this to white people? Or Asian people? Or even Latinos? Not nowhere near is the time, many times you see it with us. So not only do we have to worry about these ignorant people attacking our elderly and attacking us in our neighborhoods, or attacking us when we go visit other people in their neighborhoods because we're black, we got to worry about these police officers. Or just some racist man who don't like black people coming in the yard, or don't like you because you're dating one of our neighbors' white daughters or Asian daughters. I'm almost finished. Thompson showed the camera he is unarmed and that his hands are up. You saw it. I'm giving you to the count of 3 roars in his face. So y'all saw the video. I'm done with this story. Now, what happened to this officer? I want to know. In the letter, Ehrlich claimed that before the incident, Thompson asked the other officers for their names and badge number, which is his right. One ignored him, while the other said he forgot. No excuses. You got a badge number. You got a name. These are cops that hate the fact that a black person is exercising his constitutional right. That's what happened to Sandra Bland. That irritated them to the point that he arrested her anyway, and all of a sudden, she's committed suicide. Are you freaking kidding me? When he asked Hewitt, point out that as a taxpayer, these bigot racist cops don't like you standing in your rights because they don't think you're supposed to have any, and they hate the fact that you exercise. Bad enough, they could deal with a Negro that don't know his rights, but they really See, they can get over a Negro who don't have his rights, don't know his rights. Because if you don't know your rights, it's like you don't have any. But for you to learn your rights and tout it in my face, proving that you know what you know, and I still got, they don't like that. That's why I say sometimes you're going to need a third party to execute your rights, and that's why I Margaret Legal Shield. Because I've used it, had the attorneys on the phone before the cops come to me, shut my mouth and let the attorneys deal with the cops. And I let the attorney know exactly where I'm at. And the attorney would even call the precinct, to check on the cops. Do you have any cops located in the area? I need to know everything. Because I'm going to file a civil rights lawsuit against them if they violate Mr. Brown's rights. Yeah, it's like an insurance. I have to pay for it monthly, but I write it off on my taxes. I have a way to write it off on my taxes. But I have that because I know I need more than just me standing my rights, because I know some of these fools can't stand you standing in your rights like this brother. They want to act ignorant. He said that when he told Hewitt he believed his detention was illegal, which it was, Hewitt respond, "Brother, how do you think all of this is going to end? Are you ready to go through all this today just for that?" In other words, you either shut up and do what I tell you, boy. Don't you dare try to resist and defend yourself, because it ain't going to go right for you. In other words, I'm going to suppress you. I'm going to harass you. And don't you dare make it harder by standing up for your rights. Brother, how do you think all this is going to end? Are you ready to go through all this today just for that? There's probably not even any weed in there. But you should give us the right to take a look and see. I added that. He said Hewitt points to the camera and acknowledged it was going to get posted on YouTube, but that everyone who watched it was going to label him the most coolest, calmest, collective cop in the whole nation. This fool. After grabbing him, Thomas claimed he was thrown face down into the pavement. That's what they do, because they've done it to me before. I was thrown face down into a hot hood of a police car. Face pretty much burning. And they didn't care. Being accused of breaking into a doctor's office, and the only identification was a black man with jean shorts and a t-shirt. This was in the 90s. Everybody wore jean pants, jean shorts, and a t-shirt. Having suffered multiple cuts and abrasion, Thomas said he requested medical attention several times, but was told, "You're not even hurt." When Thompson was placed in the police car, he said Hewitt tried to explain that what had happened had nothing to do with his race. He claimed that because of his own wife was black, he could not possibly be a racist. Let me deal with that. According to Elric, Hewitt's wife is not black. No evidence of any crime was found in Thompson's car. Tufab had reached out to the Virginia State Police for comment. All right, guys, I'm done. I thank you for staying up here with me and dealing with this with me. I started out with this poster. Black, Brown, Asian Solidarity. It's going to be kind of hard when you got Asians who are racist toward blacks, as I proved in the story with the Vietnamese. You even got Latinos that are racist toward black, even Afro-Latinos. You got some blacks from overseas or some blacks from the Caribbean. They don't identify with blacks. They identify with being whatever name their country are. I'm not black, I'm Jamaican. No, you're a black person that happened to be from Jamaica. You're a black person that happened to be from Barbados. I'm quite sure there's some white people from Barbados, white people from Jamaica too. Stop identifying from your country and identify as your color. And a lot of them look down on the people who are born here and have roots in slavery. They have a little piety because they've taken over their country. They pretty much run their country. They have banks. They have established a community in their country, and it overtakes the country. And where have been failed to that, we established communities, but we had, because of this country is predominantly white, we were always suffocated when we began to grow and build in our communities. But now we're open the country to everybody, and we allow them to come here and build a community, but let the black people try to find a way to build community or find a way to tear it down. Because of the incidents that's going on in Oakland concerning Asians and maybe some parts of New York and wherever it is, they'll allow them to start the process of protecting their community over and above the police department, but won't allow the black people to do that in their community. So black, brown, Asian solidarity. This thing has to be done in fragments. The number one focus of the black community is to push black equality, not black civil rights. It's two different things. Black people who were born here, has a root and lineage here, must have their full equal rights with whites, and that include wealth first, before we could talk about equality for all. Because a lot of things that everybody else want to get in this country, they don't have a right to it because they didn't help shape this country from the foundation. You have a right to certain things once we get to certain levels of getting this job done. We have to get a job done first. We would like support, we need support, but we ain't gonna wait on no support. A lot of people say you can't do this without other people. Who said so? There's multiple ways we can clap back. Boycott and divestment is one of the best ways to do it. Once blacks start taking their money from white people, from Asian people, from Latino people who don't support them, they're going to feel the heat. But brown and Asian people can't say black people never supported them. So what reason would you try to take away support from us when we really ain't got nothing anyway, because they keep stealing it from us? And when we try to fight for our equal rights, they got to say, you don't deserve it just to yourself. We all deserve it. Not necessarily. You deserve it in fragments. There's some payback this country owes us first, and we're going to focus on getting that done first before we can throw 100% into all the other equal rights. Because in this country, everything cannot be gotten to everybody. Now, going back to the original story, let me bring myself back up here. Attacking anybody of color, attacking the Asian for no reason is bad. Attacking an old elderly woman, period, is bad. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Now, like I said, they'll make it look like a black person did it, but I don't care who you are. You can be Italian, you could be from, Jamaica Asian. You can be a Jamaica Asian attacking another Asian. It don't matter who did it. You go around attacking innocent people, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, and somebody need to put their foot in their behind, and you should go to prison. And anybody in prison, they rightfully have the right to put a foot in your behind, because when we see older ladies, oftentimes we think about our grandma. You doing that to our grandma. But to sit there and say they're attacking Asians and making a big national campaign and not talk about the other people being attacked, the numbers rising still in the black community on elderly people too, or random people coming from work too. It's not fair. We're going through the same thing you're going through, but we don't get equal coverage. And I be doggone, we gonna sit there and act like, oh, this a problem, and that's not a problem. And the numbers are higher over there. Because not only do we got our own sometime attacking us, And God knows for whatever reason. We also got Latinos attacking black people, just like some black people attack something like that. Poverty is a mug. It's an MO. Some people do it just to be ignorant. Some people do it for power. Some people do it just because they can. Some people do it because they're crazy and nut wings. Some people do it because you got something I want. In each situation, you got to find out the motive and stop assuming it's hate. Because it's not necessary hate. We don't know what's the situation that was in White Plains. They have no evidence, but it's and they pretty much said it was black. They found any black homeless guy, they could pin that on. And she could say that's not him, but the police tell her, yes, it was. You just don't remember. That's how deep this thing going. We got to get this Negro right here, because we don't want to be wasting 3, 6, a whole year trying to find the guy who really beat you up, if that's the case. Not saying that's her case, but if that's the case, police are so freaking lazy, they'll go and get anybody, blame it on a random black guy. We got histories. We got a whole jails are full of blaming it on the black guy. We don't have jails full of blaming it on an Asian, white, or whatever. No, you really got to have some evidence. You really got to catch him on footage, and even then, it still ain't him. But when it come to us, if we happen to be in the neighborhood, if I happen to just go see, I don't have a white girlfriend, but if I had a white girlfriend that lives in a nice, bougie neighborhood in Mount Vernon, and I go spend a little time with her, and her parents are okay with the relationship, they're open there, and they come from the flower power movement, whatever, and I kiss her and walk down that neighborhood, I might encounter 2 bigot, racist white guys that probably think they could take me on. Now understand this, you better have a cup on, because I'm a quick kick you in the nutter. I don't hesitate. You come near me, I'm kicking you square in the nuts. And while you're on the ground, I'm stumping you down. I'm gonna get one of y'all. You both might get me, but I ain't gonna let that happen. I'm gonna get one of y'all in the balls. Then I try to while you laying down there crying, then me and the other dude now. Then I have an even edge. But you both ain't gonna take it. You gotta catch me off guard. But it happens. The black man get beat up by the white guy. I call the police. It ain't making no news, man. It ain't making news. And while I kick one dude butt and beat the other, kicked one dude in the ball, he laying down crying, and I beat one dude up, they'll call the police and say I attacked him. I go to jail. Guess what? It ain't making news. The media is being biased. Report the news. First of all, find out the motive. Every motive isn't hate. Now, this situation with the brother that we just saw in the video, that's hate. Because that cop hate the fact that this black man tell him it's right. We got too many evidence of this happening, of cops getting upset because you got the freaking nerves to tell me something I should know. Y'all gonna get ready for this. I'm gonna whoop your behind in front of everybody on that camera in God's heaven, whatever he said. How many of y'all knew about that story? How many of y'all knew about this other story? It don't make national news. My grandma get knocked upside the head. If it was a white guy, it wouldn't make the news. Luckily, to make a police report. So what I'm saying, and I'm done. Crime is a mother. Committing crimes are wrong. Attacking people for no reason is wrong. Attacking people because of their race is wrong. Attacking somebody because their age is wrong. Attacking somebody because they got a little money and you ain't got no money is wrong. Attacking people is wrong. But it's an assault. It could end up in the murder, but it's an assault. And the numbers on it are low, but they're going to try to make it seem like it's a rash. It's an epidemic. And eventually they're gonna be lazy and find the nearest thing to justify. Gotta be him. He got the same black hoodie on. Man, you know how many people wear black hoodies? They say it was a guy with a hood and mask. Man, you know how many people got on masks today in the hood? Let's just get any random Negro. I guarantee you're not going to find out too many white guys attacking that they drew off the streets or caught. You're not going to find too many other Asians when 9 times out of 10, it's another Asian attacking, because most of the crimes that happen in your community comes from the people in your community. Can't talk about black on black. What about black on black crime without talking about white on white crime, Asian on Asian crime? And my whole point is there should be equal coverage of it. Stop making it look like one thing is an epidemic when it is all an epidemic. I'm done. Let me see who's up here. Fred, thank you for being faithful and hanging on there with me, brother. Robert Jordan, thank you for being on the show. Tim Nichols, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Angeline R, I thank you. I appreciate you for always being faithful on the show. And hey, I'm gonna keep this up. I don't have my background, but I'm gonna keep this up. I'm gonna keep this live 11 at 11. I went over. It's 1:36. Good Lord. But folks, be vigilant and watchful, and you got to have a little wisdom when people do stuff like this. We went through a month or two ago talking about dealing with white supremacy from the rooter to the tutor, from the president all the way down to the local janitor or your local supervisor or your super in your building. Cops in there, FBI in there, politicians are in there. But they're trying to find a way to shut that conversation down and try to make it seem like, well, black people are racist too. Most black people, we may choose our community as a priority, but that doesn't mean we're racist. I'm black first, meaning that I care about what goes on in my community more than anything because I got to live in that community. Even if I lived in a white community, I'm not going to detach myself from my black community. I want more of my black people to live in nice homes and nice neighborhoods. But as soon as we move into the neighborhood, they assume the value going to go down. Not necessarily so. They don't assume the value going to automatically go up. The only way they assume the value goes up if we keep it without black. My house is worth more valuable than yours, and you got the nerves to sit there and say, I'm bringing the value of the neighborhood down? Why? Because I'm black? And you can have a white wife, that don't mean nothing. Understand this. Just because you marry somebody of a different color doesn't make you a racist. That lying son of a gun sitting there telling a lie to justify why he was going to whoop that boy behind that his wife is black. Lying through his teeth. But let's say his wife was black. That don't mean you're not a racist. You got black women that's so addicted to white zaddyism. I'm going to get me a white man because you black Negroes ain't nothing. That's the wrong reason to get a white man. Human being is a human being. A white man can be nothing just like a black man can be nothing. Black women being black. Same thing with the black guys who choose a white guy over a white girl over a black woman. Can't assume black women are like the last black woman who broke your heart. I ain't messing with no more black women. They vicious. No, you just probably had a vicious one, or you just probably had one that was tired of your mess and wasn't gonna put up with it. And you wanted somebody that's docile. So you go out there and get a Japanese woman because they've been raised to be docile. Yeah, they raised to be docile, but let them come to America. Somebody gonna get in her ear and let her know you gonna let that man do that to you? Girl. Nah, we don't do this in America. Nah. Like Eddie Murphy said in Delirious, his wife, Fufu. Mfufu got around the sisters, and Mfufu was like, no, no, no. You're not going to do like that to me, Eddie. You're not going to, you know, so. And then he got the nerves. Folks, it don't matter. Mitch McConnell got an Asian wife. He's just racist and bigger than ever before. Most of the white, especially Republicans, most of the ones, Republican black women that down the black community married to a white man. People like Bill Maher down talking racist out of the side of his mouth, got him always messing with black chicks and assuming I mess with black women only. I'm not a racist. That ain't got nothing. You trying to hide behind that black girl. They call it the decorative veil. We ain't having that. You racist still. Thomas Jefferson had a relationship with this woman. Nah, he's still a racist dude. Still a racist. Just because you're getting you some black poom poom do not make you unracist. A lot of time they're looking at you as an object and not as a love relationship. Trophy sometimes. So no. Some of the biggest racists hide behind the curtain of black people. And black people are allowing it to happen. Trump tried to do that with his black church buddies. Joe Biden trying to do that with the CBC and most of black America, trying to hide that just because I'm Joe Biden and black people vote for me, I'm not racist. Man, you could tell a racist by his slip-ups, and he's full of them. Anyway, I'm Robert Brown, Bob TV. I appreciate you guys hanging in there. Until, I guess, Wednesday. I'm going to try to go live Wednesday. I'll always be live on Sundays. Make this a great, exciting week. And always remember this. Trying to come up with my own phrase, okay? Always remember this. The truth won't set you free, but it will make you free. I'll let you later. Peace.